Hi everyone, welcome to Cover 4, our college football show. There's normally 4 of us, but as you can see, there's only 2 of us today.
But cover 2 today.
This is not 2 guys talking sports.
Nope.
Not even associated with 2 guys talking sports.
But we're cover 2 today. We're running different defense today.
Yep. Jordan still had some schoolwork he had to work on. Landry was feeling a little under the weather, so me and Kyle are going to take the reins here today. All right, let's jump right into it. South Carolina got shellacked on Saturday, 48-7.
You know what? I'm kind of glad we give it like 4 days before we talk about these games because Saturday was not pretty. Like obviously we knew going in we didn't really have a chance to win, but gosh, man, it wasn't even competitive. You knew Georgia is heads and tails way better than us.
Yeah.
And I know Beamer said after game it didn't we don't have any quitters, but bro, man, it's the same.
bad.
It was just these last 2 games for us have been. I mean, the start of our schedule is not fun.
At all.
Now Arkansas is ranked 10. Georgia's now is still number 1. Those aren't easy games to go back to back, but it definitely shows where we're at as a program.
Yeah, and not to look too far ahead, but Kentucky's ranked 8th now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it doesn't get.
easier.
I mean,
that
Tennessee.
back half of the schedule might be worse than the front half.
I'm just looking forward to Florida at this point.
Exactly.
We got. It doesn't get any, but at least we got Charlotte this weekend, South Carolina State the next weekend. Hopefully, it's a big hopefully and big if. Hopefully, these next 2 weeks are pretty easy for us because our offense has no identity
At all.
We can't get anything going. It's like we just throwing stuff at the board hoping it sticks.
Right.
Is what it seems like.
And going into the game, we knew we were already down 2 defensive starters for the year with ACLs.
6 total, I believe. Not for the year.
Right, and then it was announced maybe Friday night or Saturday morning, that you were going to be out another 3 or 4 defensive starters. I mean, you're out half your defense against probably one of the best offensive teams in the nation. And then on the flip side, they're still one of the best defensive teams in the nation. And like you said, we don't know what we're doing on offense.
Yeah, nope. And I'm pretty sure
the talent is there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Landry stated on the first show of the year, this was going to be Stetson Bennett's Heisman game. And my gosh, I mean, we made them look really good.
Yeah. And, we don't really have that identity on offense, and I think that's playing into some of Spencer Rattler's struggles right now.
Yep.
I think that he forces way too much.
Yep.
Sometimes let's just throw it away, or, let's not try and force the ball just because you have that arm.
But, I mean, you see him, he has spurts where he makes those correct decisions.
Right.
But then he tries to do too much, just like the first interception Saturday. He had a beautiful pass to Jaheim Bell.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if this was a miscommunication with the receiver with Juju, but it was ugly.
I think it was ugly. I think it was a little bit of miscommunication. Sometimes on those wheel routes like that, you want them looking back. That way you can't always throw that back shoulder, especially if you know that defensive back's going to be on them. You can still pick up easy yards, even with the defensive back being on them, if you hit that back shoulder, which is where he threw it.
Yeah. But he just threw it to the DB instead of the receiver.
But again, we're not running the ball. I think a critical mistake was, and nothing against the carry-on, but that 3rd and 8, and you pull your starting quarterback out, and then you just run basically, like I said, no fault to the carry-on, but when he finally gets the ball in his hands, which he hasn't had it all year, he wants to try and make a play.
Well, when you got somebody in the Wildcat formation, there's nobody in the backfield, and there's 5 linemen that are not that good going up against the best defensive line. It's just a recipe for disaster, and it's like we look lost out there. Yeah. I don't get it.
And this was last year. This is all we talked about as Gamecock fans last year. It's our offense. Just the play calling makes no sense. Yep. There's no identity. We don't know when to run the ball, when to pass the ball. Yep. The play calling is terrible. And then
we have playmakers.
You got the bowl game where it was like, okay, this is good play calling. Yep. This is we're doing good. And then you get Rattler in, and he makes the comment that one of the main reasons he came was because of Satterfield. and then we're right back to this.
I don't
know. Nobody knows what's going on.
I don't know if that speaks more of who Rattler is as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so hard to like look and see him play when he had that great year at Oklahoma. And, last year you can say what you want.
Right.
Maybe it was just a bad situation where they probably knew Lincoln Riley was leaving anyways. But, man, it's tough to see when you've got great talent that came in via, like, the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing we saw last year.
Yeah. And what's even worse now is yesterday or the day before you got Josh Vann on a podcast or on just Instagram Live or something like that talking to one of the defensive backs, and he makes the comment that, we're calling plays that the players haven't practiced in weeks. They don't even know what's going on. Yeah. And I'm just like...
We're paying our offensive coordinator way too much to put out this product. But, and we'll talk about this later in the show, but the game this week against Charlotte is the time for Satterfield to save his job.
Yeah. The next 2 weeks, if he doesn't, I'm not sure I wouldn't mind just turning it over to Freddie Kitchens for a while.
It's Freddie Kitchens. You got Justin Stepp. I mean, we got a great receivers coach. But, something's got to change. It's pretty pathetic what we're seeing each week.
Yeah, so a tough loss. We knew that it was going to be tough. I thought that we would give it a little bit more of a go at the beginning of the game and Georgia run away at the end, but it was just Georgia from the jump.
Rattler had 118 yards passing.
Yeah.
I mean, rushing-wise, Juju was our leading rusher with 33 yards.
Yeah.
Off 8 attempts.
But I don't think that we've broke 100 yards rushing all year.
No. But
as a team.
It's crazy how different our offense looks when you've got Juju in the backfield compared to Marshawn.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know. Like
it's kind of, not to bring them up, but it's kind of how the Cowboys use Zeke and Pollard. You got Zeke who's going to bruise it down the middle.
But Marshawn didn't really do that.
Yeah. So I don't think that Satterfield knows how to use him. I think that he last year maybe didn't have enough talent and was trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then this year he's got the talent.
He still can't
figure it out.
But I mean, he in his previous stops as offensive coordinator, he couldn't figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
What made you think he'd come to a SEC program to figure it out? But
if you can't do it, especially with the talent that he's been given, sure the talent isn't playing up to par. Mm-hmm. Some of it, I will say, is play calling. That's not an excuse. You still got to make the play that's called.
And offense, the line has to give you time to make plays.
Yeah.
And you have to make good, decisions on those plays.
Yeah, so tough loss for the Gamecocks.
Thank you. It is over.
Yeah. And we get to Charlotte this week.
Yeah, and I swear, I hope that's a pretty easy game. 7:30 kickoff, I believe.
Oh, and we didn't even mention, we did actually film a show last week.
Yeah, we did. We should have prefaced this at the beginning of the
show. The audio cut out, batteries died or something. We filmed at least a 30-minute
Clearly,
episode.
we are not tech savvy.
Yeah,
and behind this table.
We were left to our own to run the camera, and I don't know, didn't check everything.
Yep.
But
we had one job and didn't do it.
I think everybody picked the over to actually hit in this game, and it did not. I think everybody may have picked Georgia to cover that spread.
Georgia covered the spread.
Yeah, and they did cover
pretty
the spread.
Easily.
Yeah, we figured that to happen.
After the first 8 minutes, I was like, "Yep, they're going to be pretty bad."
All right, moving along. Coastal Carolina took on Buffalo. I want to say Buffalo was winless coming into this game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Coastal is winning games, but they are struggling to win them the way that people project them to win.
Turnovers is killing Coastal. I mean, they had 4 turnovers.
38-26. I mean, that's a good win, but you're coming in last year. You were a top 25 team. People screaming to put you in the college football playoffs or put you in the New Year's Six Bowl. And you're coming out this year and you are barely skating by.
Yep.
And I came into this year on the first episode and said this was basically a job interview for Chadwell. And right now he's stuttering. 38-26. Didn't cover the spread. Over didn't hit.
Over did hit.
Over did hit.
Yep, over
Buffalo put up more points than we thought they would.
Yep.
Grayson McCall, 16-24, 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's not playing bad this year.
No,
he's still playing Grayson McCall football.
But that offense Chadwell runs, it's beneficial to a quarterback.
Yeah, it is.
The stats are usually always going to be there. You can always depend on Coastal to put up the points. Defense is kind of struggling, though.
Yeah, 4 turnovers for both teams.
Yep.
And I think that was the key. That's what kept Buffalo in the game. You know,
Coastal's got
504 yards on offense for Coastal, and Buffalo only had 337. But those 4 turnovers, that's what kept them in the game.
Yeah, Coastal's got to get it ironed out because I mean, you saw last weekend how the Sun Belt is.
Yeah.
They have to play Georgia Southern. They have Georgia State this weekend. They still have App State, which on a Thursday night, I believe November 3rd is when they play App State. Don't hold me to that. And they still have Marshall.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's not
their schedule doesn't get any easier for them. But they've got to get it figured out because if they have like any bowl hopes, especially like with smaller schools, it's sad to say, but you don't really see them get many bowl games.
Yeah, you got to get, they may give Coastal the benefit of the doubt this year because of how they've been in years past, but you still need to win 8-9 games to get a good bowl.
And I don't know if Buffalo is a very pass-heavy team, but they only have 59 rushing yards against Coastal.
They probably just came in knowing they were going to have to throw it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Coastal does get the victory. They will take on
Georgia State.
Georgia State, who is 0-3. But that Georgia State team, they're not bad.
Shockingly, Charlotte beat Georgia State last weekend. So that was Charlotte's first win of the year, and you would think Georgia State's a pretty good football team. Their first 2 games were against bigger opponents.
Right.
You would expect them to beat Charlotte, but Charlotte will score some points for sure.
Yeah, Coastal needs to get rolling. They need to have one of those big, blow it open wins. Hopefully they can get it against Georgia State this week.
Because the schedule, like I said, schedule don't get easier for them.
Yeah, they really need to start clicking here in the next few weeks. Moving along, Clemson, 48-20. Didn't cover the spread, overdid hit. This was a close game at halftime.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm not just saying this because it's Clemson, but like, it just didn't feel like, even though they won by 28 points, like it didn't feel like a 28-point win.
Right. Yeah, a lot of it was second half of the game. You're taking on a lower tier opponent that hung with you 4.5, and you're supposed to be the number 5 team in the nation at home. Clemson, obviously, they're still blowing teams out. It's a 28-point win. You can't take that away from them. DJ, 17-29, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's not turning the ball over as much this year.
I don't get it. It's like he's not – you don't think he's that good, but, I mean, statistically he puts up great numbers, but it's just – I feel like a lot of his passes, from what I watch and see, is mostly shorter passes, and he'll hit a long one every once in a while. Yeah,
I think where his play stutters is in the bigger moments when maybe it's the 3rd and 9s or the key plays that he needs to make, and that's when he just puts it in the dirt.
Especially like at the beginning of the game, but you give their defense enough time to wear down the opposing team and can't keep the other team's defense off the field.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when, especially the running game, because, Will Shipley, solid game, 139 yards rushing, 14 receiving yards, 2 total touchdowns. I just feel like with Clemson's ability to dominate on defense and doesn't keep the opposing team's offense on the field, and that just wears down the defense on the other team, and that's usually when Clemson takes over. It's like it may be a slow first half, but they usually pull away in the second half for sure.
Yeah, so Clemson come away with a win. They'll have their biggest test of the year so far this year.
And Antonio Williams got his first touchdown in his collegiate career.
There you go. 2 receptions for 57 yards.
He was leading rusher. Leading rusher. But that's hard to see when you see, DJ obviously gets other players involved, but, it's weird when you see it. Like, you could even say this for South Carolina. Our leading receiver had 53 total yards.
Yeah.
And, same thing with Clemson. 2 receptions, 57 yards.
Yeah, I will say one thing about DJ. He does spread the ball around a lot.
Yeah, he does. They've got a lot of weapons.
Yeah, I think that you probably aren't going to see many games where it's, one receiver has 180 yards or 130 yards. I think there's going to be a bunch of 4 catches, 3 catches, 5 catches.
I wish we had that problem. Yeah. We got the talent, but we can't distribute it very well.
We're going to get it going this week.
Well, let's hope so.
So Clemson will take on Wake Forest this coming up week, number 5 versus number 21. That's in Clemson. Benefit for them. But that'll be their toughest game. But we'll get to that one later on.
Pretty sure it's at Wake Forest.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure because Clemson's, minus 6.5. I feel like it. Last year was in Clemson, I believe.
Let's see. Yep. Nope. Yep. Clemson at Wake Forest.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
that'll be
Good
tough
road
going on the
test.
road. Yeah. This will be their first true road game. The first one was a neutral site,
Yeah.
but first one in the actual collegiate environment.
And I feel like because the first game was in Atlanta, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's still not a far drive from Greenville
Right.
or Clemson.
And it's
Georgia
still,
Tech's right
and
there.
And it's in that dome. It's not that collegiate feel.
And you don't really see Georgia Tech
Right.
piling out stadiums.
Exactly.
I'm sure there were more Clemson fans than Georgia Tech there,
Yeah.
for sure.
So let's move on to our national games. This week we're going to cover Florida, number 18, taking on Tennessee at Neyland Stadium.
Yep.
9.5 spread for Tennessee, over under 62.5.
I feel like this is a recipe for Tennessee to beat the brakes off Florida.
Yeah.
You can say what you want about Florida after their week 1 win against Utah. Great win. I don't understand how they were unranked, finished
number
6th
12.
in the East last year, and got put all the way to 12, and then lose. Like their quarterback is not very good.
Right.
He has no touchdown passes this year. Barely beat South Florida last week.
Right.
And they're pretty big favorites at that time. And they played at home at Ben Hill Griffin. I think Tennessee wins this pretty easy. I'm unsure about the over/under just because it is a rivalry game,
Right.
SEC game. But I'm definitely taking Tennessee minus 9.5. I think they win easily.
Yeah, I think with that, Florida beating Utah at the beginning of the year and then them jumping to 12, especially like you said, after last year, they weren't a good team last year.
They were horrible. And
It's
nothing
not
changed.
that you had Florida, ranked poorly. You had Utah ranked poorly.
Yeah, but Utah's a team they're a very great program, and
Yeah.
they've obviously turned it around since then. But I don't know how you put. I'm thinking it's the SEC bias. Like I hate to say it that way, but Florida had
Probably
no
so.
business. They had no business being ranked. If you want to put them at 25, fine. But
Yeah.
at number 12, and they're behind or in front of the likes of Kentucky.
Yeah.
That 10-win team last year, and they just jumped into the top 10 this week. I mean,
Yeah, it's tough. And Florida's quarterback throwing no touchdown passes all
Nope.
year. Somebody told me on All Sports Talk on Facebook page that we're on that Anthony Richardson was the next Cam Newton at Auburn.
well, Cam Newton wasn't very good at Florida, so I wonder why he left.
He was pretty good at
Auburn.
stealing laptops.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Tennessee on this one. I think the Tennessee will cover the spread.
See what
And this
Tennessee's-
could be one of those games where 62.5 hits the over.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams are giving up over Florida's giving up 373. Tennessee's giving up 344 yards a game. So neither defense is horrible.
No.
But they're not also great either.
No. Tennessee's very dependent on their offense.
Yeah.
Whereas like Clemson's very, granted, their offense puts up numbers,
Right.
but their defense.
Their
That's
defense
kind of-
keeps them in the game long enough to wear a team down to where they put
exactly.
the numbers up. I see Tennessee winning this one pretty handily. Over under 62.5. That's big.
I think I'm not taking the over on that just for the sheer fact. I don't think Florida can score.
In Florida, their quarterback throwing 0 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're 4 games in? This will be the 4th game of the season, and you
Mm-hmm.
haven't thrown a touchdown. And they played
South Florida
last week.
I mean, but you would have thought after the game against Utah, he was the next Cam
Right,
Newton.
exactly.
And he didn't even score any touchdowns,
Yeah.
at least passing.
Right.
I think he's got a couple rushing
Right.
touchdowns. But you need your quarterback to throw touchdowns.
You're going to have to throw to beat a team like Tennessee.
Especially, like I said, when you get in the bigger games, they're going to force you to pass
throw
the ball.
Yep. Especially now, I mean, you're 3 games in and you've shown that you can't pass it. They're just going to stack the box and make you, all right, beat us with your arm. And if you start doing that, then we'll back off.
Yeah, but just Tennessee's going to score the points. But my hesitancy is Florida not being able to score points.
Yes. I'm going to go Tennessee under, taking the under.
So you're doing the points,
Yeah.
Tennessee and the points and the under?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's jot this down.
While you do that, Arkansas, number 10, taking on Texas A&M, number 24. And somehow, and this game is not at A&M. It's at AT&T Stadium.
It's bad when the biggest games at that stadium are college games.
Sure. The Panthers are 0-9 in their last 9 games.
I'm not a Panthers fan until David Teppercell's team. The worst owner in sports. He's turned this franchise into a laughing stock.
I think this game almost yearly is at AT&T Stadium.
It's Arkansas. Jerry Jones.
Exactly. He played at Arkansas. I'm pretty sure Arkansas and Texas A&M always play this game at AT&T.
But I don't understand how A&M's. Granted, it's basically almost a pick 'em at this point.
Right, 2.5.
But how's A&M a 2.5 point favorite?
Well, Arkansas barely escaped this past week.
They did, but also Texas A&M
lost to App State. Yeah, so both of these teams could be misranked at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Texas A&M, I'm not sure even if on away games or games that aren't at home, if they still do that creepy little night.
It was even worse last week.
Yeah,
it was worse last week.
I think they try and make it worse each week. I really don't even know who to take in this game.
I'm taking Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arkansas as well.
Arkansas is a great team. I mean, their offense is averaging over 500 yards a game. I mean, their rushing attack is ridiculous.
Yeah, they have one of the best running duos.
Arkansas averages over 240 yards of rushing offense a game. A&M's defense allows a little over 150 yards. So I think you look at Arkansas trying to establish the run early, especially at a neutral site.
This could be very bad for Texas A&M head coach. Name's
Jimbo.
This could be very, very bad for him, especially with the amount of money they talk about, the recruiting class that he's had, and you lost App State. Mm-hmm. You're on the precipice of being out of the top 25 this week, which they most likely will be, because like you said, I'm taking Arkansas in this game.
Mm-hmm.
The over-under 48.5. I mean, I see the over-hitting in this one.
Yeah.
Only because Arkansas might put up 28 or 30 on their own.
Yeah.
This could very easily be a 31-14 game, or 35-14, somewhere in there. I mean, Arkansas can put up points, especially with that running attack that they have. So I'm gonna take Arkansas. Obviously, the points. I can't believe that Texas A&M is getting the points here, or given points here. And definitely the over, 48.5. I think that's pretty low for this one.
And I want to add me taking the under.
South Carolina scored 30 against Arkansas.
I want to add me taking the under for Tennessee and Florida. I'm just taking Arkansas on the points Saturday. And I saw a stat, I think it may have been a couple weeks ago, but you line up Jimbo Fisher and Kevin Sumlin within a certain amount of games, same record.
Yep.
And they're paying Jimbo all that money. But I've also heard ramblings on social media where Jimbo runs an offense that expired in 2014.
Yeah.
So he just, and again, he got hot that one year with Jameis at Florida State, but his teams other than that were pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
But Texas A&M's paying him a lot of money. They're paying a lot of money for these recruits. They want these results, and right now they're not getting them. And they haven't. He's been wildly inconsistent since he's been there at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think this is a big game for him. He needs to pull something out here.
He needs a win and a big win.
Yeah.
Yes, he's beat Alabama, but I feel like Alabama mostly lost that game themselves. Then A&M beat them.
Yeah, I'm taking Arkansas here though. I don't think he gets that big win this week.
Nope. Are you taking any over under?
I'm taking the over on this one. I think that'll hit. I mean, Arkansas can put up points, but Arkansas can also give up points. Like I said, they gave up 30 against South Carolina, and we don't even know what we're doing on offense and still scored 30.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Want to move on?
Yeah. Now it comes down to the fun stuff. Talking about the upcoming games this weekend for Carolina, Clemson, Coastal. I think we'll go ahead and get the worst part over with. We'll talk South Carolina first.
All right.
We are a 22.5 point favorite. This was as of Sunday, so obviously the numbers could have changed between now and then. Over under at 64.5. Big thing for South Carolina this week, like we talked earlier, we've got to get an identity on offense.
Yeah.
I feel like defense, I think they're going to be there. Granted, we've played two of the top offensive teams in the conference the past 2 weeks. But our and I've said this since Muschamp was there. Our offense has to be able to keep our defense off the field. You can't consistently depend on the defense to stop them every time because it's just with the schedule we play, it's just realistically not going to happen.
Yeah.
Our line's got to block better. We got to get our playmakers the ball. We've got tons of playmakers, but it just feels like we go to the same people. And I mean, Josh Finn's been he's been non-existent this season so far. I don't even feel like he's recorded a catch. It's been Juice Wells or Jalen Brooks.
Yeah, I think
we didn't even got Stogner involved.
Yeah, the offense is the key for this game. We know that the defense is going to play pretty good. Like you said, in these last two games, they're just on the field so much.
Yep.
You can only do so much when you're out on the field 35,
especially when you
40
get,
minutes a game.
And the injuries start piling up.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the week. I mean, Charlotte's defense allows close to 46 points a game, over 500 yards of offense.
Yeah.
It's either put up or shut up for Satterfield.
Yes, you have to, especially with these next two games being, lower tier opponents, maybe simplify it down. Let's build a core of what our offense is. Let's get a basis. I think that he's just kind of knows that he has the talent, so he's just throwing the whole playbook at him.
Yeah.
And, that's why you got players saying, look, we if you got 100 plays in the playbook, we don't have to use them all to beat some teams. Let's use 25.
Yeah.
Let's practice 25 this week and say these are our 25 plays. Let's build a base. Let's establish a running game, and then let's throw off of the run.
Yep.
A lot of times I think just because we know that Rattler can throw it 75, 80 yards.
But y'all see he turns the ball over a lot.
And when you force them to always have to make the play, that's a lot of decision making. Yep. That's a lot of
puts a lot of pressure on himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think establish a run.
Yep.
Run on first and second down, and then throw on third. Let's do that for a drive.
I remember it's been probably 10 years ago. I think it's right when Stoops got to Kentucky. We were playing in Kentucky. I can't remember who the running back was for Kentucky, but I swear they ran the running back out the shotgun probably 13 times in a row and throughout the entire game, and we never stopped it. Like, find something the defense can't stop, especially in these games. Build some confidence because that's what we need. Like, we have zero confidence right now.
Yeah.
You like you said, you've got to establish the run in order to get the pass game going. But I don't know, something's got to give. These next 2 weeks, like I said, are put up or shut up for Satterfield.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this too is, Rattler has experience, but also he's coming to a new team with new players. You almost have to treat it as if he's a true freshman on this team because, outside of spring ball and summer ball, which you don't get, those 100% in-game reps like that, they're still gelling right now. They're still trying to find out, okay, you may run this fast in practice and I can hit you here, but in a game, you may be a little bit slower, or some people in games are a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So you got to find that gel where that's why he's missing some of these routes. Some of them he's overthrown, some of them he's underthrown. This is a big game where you can, simplify things down. Let's run a simpler route tree. Let's build some confidence, learning, okay, I can hit you here, I can hit you here. This is how you run. Let's get the offensive line some confidence that, okay, we can run the ball right behind the center. We can run the ball behind the guards. We can stretch it out. We definitely got to just build a core offense. Then next week, take that, build off of that, and then when you get to Kentucky the next week, okay, let's open it up a little bit more.
And it's in Lexington.
Yeah.
So it's
These are basically, you got to treat these as we're preparing our playbook for Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with a base.
For the rest of the schedule.
But we got to start with a base, build off of that next week, and then kind of open it more instead of just throwing open the whole playbook at the beginning of the year. And if you're not practicing in practice, oh, man.
Yeah. I'm going to take South Carolina in the points.
Yeah. I don't know about over. We may be able to hold Charlotte to not scoring very many, and we're not going to put up 50 or 60 points.
I'm going to take the over. I feel like the team, especially after last weekend, some of the questions Beamer was getting asked, I think the team's really, hopefully, fired up and they're PO'd about the last couple weeks. But this is when your leadership needs to take over, in your football team. Like, who are the leaders? It's time to step up.
Exactly.
Again, nobody expected us to win against Arkansas and Georgia.
Right.
But at least you could say in Arkansas, like, we didn't give up.
Right.
They tried outside those awful onside kicks Georgia, you know, they're just heads and tails.
Yeah, they're the best.
They're people are calling them, you know, they're taking over Bama now.
Right,
Which
exactly.
I can believe that.
Yeah, they look like it at this point.
They do. And like I said, it's time for leadership to pick up and, you know, light a fire under these players and get it going. Because, like I said, it's only year 2, but, I mean, if anything, you know,
you don't want to regress.
Time to get going.
You want to progress a little bit.
That was the thing under Muschamp. You know,
came out strong and then just
the second
faltered.
season won what 9 games?
Yeah,
was 9-4, but then we just regressed after that.
Right.
And you know, I feel like we're still, you know, it's taking time to get his players in there and take time to. But like I said, you have to build momentum to attract those players to come.
Yep. I'm gonna take South Carolina points. I'm not gonna touch that over under.
All right. Scared? Life's too short to bet the under, Steven.
I just want to bet it all.
Okay. What you want to discuss next? Let's save Clemson Wake Forest for the last, because that's a pretty big game.
Yep.
I feel like we can end the show on a high note with that. Hopefully Clemson loses, but Coastal Georgia State. I feel like Georgia State's a lot better than their record.
3-0. Coastal is 3-0. Georgia State is 0-3. But this is a 1.5 point game.
Yep.
Basically a pick 'em.
Yep. Again, like I said, I think Georgia State's a lot better than their record.
Yeah, I agree. They've taken some tough opponents to start their
Sean
year
Elliott's
off.
going to get them fired up. The one thing that hinders Georgia State is they're very dependent on their run.
Yep.
Their quarterback, you know, I mean, they're averaging over 213 yards passing a game. But, you know, they're very dependent on their rushing game being successful to open up the passing game.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Georgia State will cover. I think Coastal ends up winning the game. Or, excuse me, I think Georgia State wins the game as well. But I think this will be a tough test for Coastal.
Yeah. I think Coastal will pull it out, but it might be a last-second field goal. Again, whoever you pick in this one, you basically got to take the points.
Yep.
So I'm going to take Coastal -1.5. I think it'll be a 3-point game.
I don't think the over. I'm going to take the under on this one.
Definitely take the under. 62.5. That's a lot. Yeah. I'm going to take Coastal winning the game -1.5 and the under.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this, you know, like we said at the top of the show, this is Coastal's getting into the nitty gritty of their schedule, so it's like you're going to find out what type of team they are. But you know, this is going to be a tough matchup for them because I'm pretty sure Georgia State beat Coastal last year.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
And you're taking the over as well.
Yeah. Oh no, under.
Taking the under. Coastal with the points and the under. Okay. Any more thoughts on this game? You know, I feel like
this is the one. Coastal's got to make a statement here if they want to say that they're, you know, truly back to what they were last year.
Yeah.
You can't struggle with an 0-3 team.
But
no matter who, you know, Georgia State, like we said, they are a good team. They're still 0-3.
Yeah.
And that's going to make a difference, you know, to, you know, when they go to bowl, you know, selection and stuff like that. You look at a Coastal who barely squeaks by an 0-3 team at the time. No matter how good that team might potentially be and who they've had beforehand, they still see 0-3.
I think Coastal's kind of just going based off their previous 2 seasons where like they think they're better than everybody, and I think they're getting a little bit of a wake-up call.
Right, I agree.
You know, as like I said, your boy Chadwell, it's, you know,
it's time
he's coaching for a promotion.
Yep, exactly.
Because there's some programs opening up.
Yeah, for sure.
Nebraska being one of them, but I think they want Urban Meyer.
Oh, God.
Don't get him in a bar. Watch his fingers.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Clemson, Wake Forest, 12 p.m. kickoff, ABC at Wake Forest. True road test for Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson's favored -6.5, over under 56.5. I think it's going to be a close game, but I just feel like Clemson
always pulls these
Clemson's depth is just so superior to Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a great football team. But Clemson's defense they're just too good. Yeah, they're just way too good.
Wake Forest is going to have to jump out and get a 10-point lead, a 14-point lead to be able to, you know, even in the fourth quarter, still pull out a close victory, I think. Because, you know, if they're down or if it's a 3-point game going into that fourth quarter, that's where Clemson really pulls away. That's when their defense always steps up. So for Wake Forest to have any chance, I think that they're going to have to jump out early, maintain a lead throughout the game, use the home field to their advantage.
Yep.
Make the game be put on DJ's shoulders.
Yep.
You know, statistically, yeah, his numbers look good this year, but just still watching him, he just doesn't.
He's not
look
taking
like,
over a game.
Right. He doesn't look like the guy that you say, okay, go win us the game.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like it's like the transition period between Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence when Clemson had Kelly Bryant. I know we discussed this, I think, on the first show. I think DJ does enough to not lose you a game, but I also don't think he's going to take over a game and just dominate like you saw with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. We're like, you know what you got out of those two quarterbacks in each game. You don't really know what you're going to get out of DJ. Like I said, he puts up the stats and the numbers, but like when you watch the game, it's like, you know, he's not taking over. Like he's not going to be like, all right, guys, this is what we're doing. We're going to march down the field and score. Like you don't get that vibe from him.
Yeah.
You do with Shipley. I mean, but you know.
That's what I'm saying. They got to force the game to be put on DJ's shoulders, make him win the game. Mm-hmm. I think Clemson pulls it out, but I don't think they cover the spread. I think it could be a field goal game.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. So Steven, you taking Wake in the points?
I ain't touching over under. This game could be a shootout where it's just back and forth, or this could be a 17-10.
Wake also has their quarterback. Return. I believe he returned last week. But like last season, everybody expected Clemson, Wake Forest to be a great game. Clemson won pretty easily.
Yep. So.
I just feel like, yes, the ACC is progressing, but the gap between like Clemson and the other top teams in the ACC is just night and day.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
And I think Clemson wins easy, but I think it's a closer, you know, it's an easy win like points wise, but I think it's a tougher game for them.
Yeah. So just to run back through, Coastal Carolina plays Georgia State at 7:30. South Carolina plays Charlotte at 7:30, and you get to kick it off early with Clemson at Wake Forest at 12 p.m.
So that way you can watch the Clemson game and get your mind ready to watch the Gamecocks play.
Yeah, you're going to have your mind ready to try and figure out what's going on.
Exactly.
So thanks for joining us. Hopefully next week we'll have our full barn back. We'll see you next week, Thursday at 7 p.m.
And hopefully the audio's worked.
Hopefully so.
And if y'all have any suggestions before we go, what y'all maybe want to see, put it in the comments. Let us know what you think we can improve on, or if you want to see us talk about different stuff, just let us know.
We'll see you next week.